What you're about to listen to is a Bry-Fy production. Comic book reviews. Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Bry-Fy podcast. I'm your host, Bry-Fy, your comics guy, and we're recording in the car again. So, yay! That means this episode's most likely going to come out in a timely manner, even though it's already a week late. But it's like I told you guys, with work ramping up, getting ready for another outage, things are going to be a little more difficult for me. So, kind of like every 2 weeks of having a new episode, I think maybe the new norm for me. It's way easier to deal with things that way. So, that's, for the time being, I think that's how we're going to do it. But I'm going to try to be better. I'm going to try to put out an episode every week. But I can't guarantee it. But I can almost guarantee putting one out every other week. And things should be good that way, right? Right? And I do apologize if there's more noise than normal on this episode. It's like they're redoing the entire road that I drive to work. So it's rough. It's a rough road, and it makes a lot of noise driving on it. But anywho, that's not what you came here to listen to. You came here for my weird thoughts on Nifty Nerd News and different things. And we do have some media that I want to cover with you guys today for the review. It's actually a book that my wife has got me reading. My wife and I have been reading together, and so we'll talk about that like we do, and rate it and give my opinions on it. But up first, let's talk about the Nifty Nerd News. Alright guys, so up first in the Nifty Nerd News, The Boys star Valerie Curry, who plays a character called Firecracker on the show The Boys. Sorry, my head went crazy. She's come out in I think it was an Instagram post, it was on one of her social medias, talking about the fan experience from one of the conventions she went to and how disturbing it was. She was getting, I don't want to make it sound like it's bad, but she was offended because people wanted her to act out certain things or say certain lines that her character says, which she does not agree with. She's not, like, her character is, I'm pretty sure, a villain, or at least a far-right crazy character that she's not 100% she's not that person. And having people want her to reenact those things while she's being just her, she's not okay with. And for a lot of reasons, I can understand that. Because, if you're an actor, you play a personality, you pretend, and people come up to you believing that's who you are. Like, a lot of people have a really rough time disassociating the actor from the art from the artist, right? And it can lead to some really awkward situations. I mean, this is not like a new thing. Like, it's like, oh wow, she's like the only person that's dealing with this. We see this all the time. On the other hand, people at conventions are just weird, right? Like, I think a lot of us have been to comic book conventions or nerd conventions or even worse, anime conventions. But, like, we've seen the kind of people that go there. A lot of them, not all, there are very well-rounded and well-adjusted people that go to conventions. But there are a lot of people who aren't. And I remember at a time, I was one of the people who aren't. One of my least favorite stories to tell, but I have two. stories that I hate, but they perfectly encapsulate like someone at a convention who just doesn't know, doesn't know better. One of the stories is when I got to meet Walter Jones, the original Black Power Ranger, and I fanboyed so hard, and I was just so starstruck by getting to meet him that when I went to interview him, and first off, this was already just a terrible thing to begin with, because back then I had like no recording equipment. The only thing I had to record my podcast was my phone. And Walter Jones is no, he's no Z-list celebrity, but he, I could see the look in his eyes when just this young kid pulls out a phone to be like, hey man, can I interview you? And really the only questions I could ask him, I don't even remember exactly what I asked, but like super shallow. Like this is like one of my first interview opportunities, and it's with a celebrity. I mean, I think I'd done like 2 interviews before that, and they were like local artist and a writer from Houston, and then Walter Jones, and I completely just bumbled everything, and I knew it was bad. And like, maybe that was the difference though between these people and me, is I knew what I was doing was just awkward and not right, and like kind of like immediately stopped it. I gotta find that interview somewhere. Like it's gotta be. I mean, he was a nice guy about it. Like thankfully he was very professional and nice about everything that happened. The other story that I have is when I got to meet Chandler Riggs from The Walking Dead, and once again I had nothing. My wife, a huge Walking Dead fan, and we decided to wait in his line to get a picture with him and everything, and do a little meet and greet afterwards, and I had absolutely nothing. And so when we came up to him and he asked if I had a question for him, the question I asked, and I hate myself for this, was, do you have a favorite color? Who the fuck asked that, right? Like, I don't know. I panicked. I wasn't really there for him, but I was like, oh, but this could be content for my podcast. Like, and it was just bad. Like, this is like the worst date ever, like, of people asking things. And I cringe. My wife cringes. Like, we have the picture that we took with Chandler Riggs, but it's marred by the fact that I asked this fucking stupid ass question of, what's your favorite color? And his answer, of course, was, I don't have any favorite colors, which made me want to punch him in the goddamn face, because really? Like, that's what you want to say? I don't know. It was funny, but really weird, really awkward. So, like, I can kind of see both sides of it to some extent, where, yes, there are very weird and creepy fans that need to understand boundaries, especially at comic conventions, because I have seen people act a fool in cosplay because they think, oh, I'm this character, it's okay to do these things. And to an extent, yes, but there are certain things, no, you cannot do. And being dressed up as some douchebag does not give you immunity from being a douchebag. Like, understand that humans are like, people are people, and those people have boundaries. And there are a lot of people who do understand that and are okay with it and are good sports with it. But then there are people who are not. And one day those people are going to get punched the fuck out. Like, I don't know. And then, of course, the other side is that people are not at their best and are not always thinking right and are just starstruck and fanning out. And please forgive me, Walter Jones and Chandler Riggs. But yeah, there's that. Let's move on to the next bit of nifty nerd news. All right, guys, so up next in the nifty nerd news, everyone's favorite breakdancer from Australia, RAYGUN, is once again in the news for being the best. Of course, RAYGUN was really famous, or got really well known at the Olympics for her very unique and just not breakdance moves that she pulled off at the Olympics. And from all intents and purposes, it looked like someone who had scammed their way in to the Olympics to make a mockery of the sport and essentially get away with it. And then it kind of like, as people delved into RAYGUN's life, the things started coming out, made less sense, was really strange, and like the conspiracy started spinning off from it, and all kinds of other things. Like it's an interesting story. Just look up RAYGUN on Google, and you could go down the rabbit hole as well. Big story short, or long story short, not really, but so RAYGUN, or Rachel Gunn, I believe is her actual name. I can't remember. But she actually has a PhD. Like, she is a college professor in like breakdance studies or history or something like that, like involving breakdancing. And so, you know, she's very knowledgeable, if not performative. She at least has the knowledge of breakdancing. But it also turns out that she is of this group where she actually based one of her papers off of, and of this group that she's written about, many of these members have gone on to become important figures in different organizations, some of which are voting and judging organizations, and some of which are what got RAYGUN to the Olympics over other breakdancers who, in my opinion, performed better. And so there's a big conspiracy about like some Australian breakdance Illuminati that got RAYGUN to the Olympics. Well, they're all at it again. So the WSDF, or the WDSF, the World Dance Something Federation, I can't remember what the S stands for, who is supposedly the World Dance Federation, has a lot of members from this. And of course, they wanted, like, the other story is like the WDSF wanted ballroom dancing in the Olympics, but that's just not going to happen because no one watches ballroom dancing unless it's Dancing with the Stars. Other than that, we want nothing to do with it. So they kind of go into breakdance. They use breakdancing as a way to get themselves involved in the Olympics, which is its own conspiracy. And of course, the Olympics are marred in all kinds of bribery, the Olympics, while being one of the greatest things on TV and has a lot of great stories, in the background of it all is one of the most corrupt and awful things the world has ever known. It destroys economies, destroys athletes' lives, but it's for our sport, and we've all seen the Hunger Games, and as long as it's entertaining enough, we will let children kill each other. Yes, the Hunger Games was a movie, but it's not that far off. I mean, look at football, look at football, look at football. Like, not just professional, look at the college level, look at the high school level, and what we allow these kids to do to kill themselves and cause irreparable brain damage for our entertainment. Don't get me wrong, I love football, I play fantasy football, but I also want these people to be safe. I love the Guardian helmets. As stupid as they look, they are safer. Anyway, back, I'm way sidetracked. This trip to Tangent City was brought to you by Colt 45, who makes it look easy. Anyway, so the World Dance Something Federation at it again by releasing their world rankings. And number one on this list, who scored a big fat 0 at the Olympics, who only placed above last place, second to last place, because the other person was disqualified, was Rachel Gunn, RAYGUN, number one dancer in the world. Forgetting the fact that she was completely demolished at the Olympics. Scored 0 points. But she's the world's best breakdancer. Once again, this comes down to corruption. Maybe a little bit of trolling. Because, like, obviously this makes no damn sense, right? Like, we've all seen the results of the Olympics. We've all seen her do things, her floor routine, quite literally. And while, yes, there are some unique things to what she does laying down on the floor, I still don't equate that to being overly technical and better than what more common breakdancers do. And I'm not sure where the WDSF gets the balls. Like, it has to be trolling, right? Like, they have to understand that they've lost legitimacy. They were teetering on losing legitimacy prior to all this, but now with this ranking, they've completely lost all credibility, and the Olympics should probably fine them for tricking them, right? Like, at this point, and like, what's worse is like, whoever it was, like the head of the Australian Olympic Committee or something like that, was defending RAYGUN and their choice to send RAYGUN, when clearly they never saw her routine at all. I'm sure no one had any idea who she really was, and they're like, well, yeah, this is one of our athletes. We have to defend them. They're important to us. Good day, mate. And then after the Olympics, they have said nothing. They have kept their mouth shut because they know. They realize the mistake that was made. But no, this has to be trolling. Like, this has to be a game now, like, not real life. Because even me, who is not a breakdancing connoisseur, even me, who has never pulled off any kind of move, I have never busted a move of any sort. The closest I've gotten to dance moves is Dance Dance Revolution, and not well, mind you. So even I could tell this ain't it. Like, RAYGUN is no firing blanks whole time. But anyway, let's move on to the next bit of Nifty Nerd News. All right, guys, and the last bit of Nifty Nerd News for you guys today. It is reported and rumored that Warped Tour will be returning for 2025 for the 30th anniversary of Warped Tour. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, some of you might know what I'm talking about, but if you were into the music scene in the early 2000s, like, I think very late 90s, early 2000s, up till like, I can't remember, like 2019, some shit like that. Warped Tour was like one of the greatest emo, punk, pop punk, alternative rock music concerts that would, are music festivals that would go across the land, man. Like, so every summer, dude, was all about Warped Tour. Hell, Blink-182 had a song talking about meeting a girl at Warped Tour, like a girl at the rock show, but I think it was just called Rock Show. But so, and me growing up, I specifically remember having great memories of going to Warped Tour and having fun with it with my friends and being like hitting on girls. Like, I mean, that was like the thing. Like, we went with a group of friends, there was girls and stuff, and so like trying to mac on the girl you like and stuff like that. Like, Warped Tour was a fun. It was just everything, man. It had so much potential for just a great time, great people, and just great bands and a great experience. And it sucked because, like, you could tell as the years were going, it just didn't, like, the deeper it got into it, like, the less fun it got. Also, I'm getting older, so it's getting harder for me to do this stuff, and like, because my body aches. I'm trying to remember the last Warped Tour I went to, maybe 2012, maybe was the last Warped Tour. I don't remember. I remember seeing Yellow Card there, which was great. A friend of mine got their autographs for me, which was fantastic. I loved it. I still have that in my room. I can't remember all the other bands. I think A Day to Remember was there. We saw them. There's some other cool bands. The one that I think I remember the most was when I was in high school. I think this was Warped Tour 07. And I remember, I'm not sure if it was a 7 or a 8 when this Warped Tour was, but I just remember it. I got to see, like, Mayday Parade was there, Paramore was there, I think Sum 41. I can't remember if Yellow Card was for that one too, and I think Real Big Fish was one that I got to see at Warped Tour one time. They were like a really cool ska band. So like Warped Tour was just so great because one, it's a ton of different music. I mean, they had like, it was like 20 plus bands that played throughout the day, or yeah, I think it was just a one day thing. It was like 20 or so bands played, all on different stages, and they even had like a local band stage that would play, and everything was staggered so that you could kind of hit a majority of the bands. But although that being said, you could never get all the bands, and it never failed because they always played like two of my favorite bands at like around the same time slot, so I had to sacrifice one to see the other. And usually it depended on the girl that I was with on which band I was going to see, because it was the band she wanted to see. So but Warped Tour was always so much fun, and so it was really sad to see it go. And here recently, though, I've come across a couple of articles that are saying, hey, I think it's coming back. And it would make sense, you know, for the 30-year anniversary. A lot of bands are still, like, bands that were famous on the Warped Tour are still big and still doing it. Some are even bigger bands now than they were back then on Warped Tour. So it'd be really cool to see them come back for, you know. And me, I'm always excited. I love music. I love listening to music. I used to be in a band when I was younger, like early 2000, like I think it was from 2008 to 2010, maybe 2008 to 2011. I can't remember what the years were, but in a band, we played around Houston and stuff like that. I think we even played, I can't remember if we got to San Antonio. No, I think San Antonio was too hard. I think we got to like a College Station. Like we played some other small towns and stuff, but Houston was like one of our main scenes and things. And had a bunch of fun with that. Made tons of friends doing that. And honestly, it was really sad to leave and not be a part of the band anymore. But the reality was, I needed to make more money. I had a family, and and you know, I wanted to do that. And I just, at the time, I didn't feel like the band was cutting it, so I had to cut my losses and try to make more money some other way. But I do regret it a lot, man. I wish I could maybe told myself back then, hang on, like you just gotta hang on, you're almost there, or something, like just push harder. Because now, you know, as an adult with an actual child, there's no way. But you know, I still dream of like finding friends that play instruments so we could all get together, have some fun, and play some music together, some stuff like that. I'm dying for it. So if you play music, hit me up, man. I really need you. But so some articles have come out. Some people who are connected with people who have put on Warped Tour have mentioned that, hey, something could be in the works, but nothing is concrete yet. These are all just rumors for now, and nothing really solid on like, yeah, this is for sure happening. But with it being the 30-year anniversary of it coming up in 2025, it started in 1995. Like, I think it's a great thing. I mean, look at what Pokemon does. Pokemon does a freaking every 5 years we have an anniversary. But so I'm hoping, man. I got my fingers crossed and hoping something big happens. But only time will tell. You know, we can only see. So big hope, man, because there's got to be a lot of cool bands on it, and it's something I would love to do. Take my son too, because he loves music. So maybe there's some cool bands that he might be into, or he might just get overstimulated and want to leave an hour after being there. I don't know. Who can tell? But that being said, man, that's really all that I got for the Nifty Nerd News. RAYGUN's number one. Warped Tour may or may not be coming back. And then I forgot what the first thing I talked about. I really did. Quit being weird at conventions. Like, act right, man. Stop it. Get some help. Anyway, that's it for the Nifty Nerd News, guys. Stick around. We're going to talk about a novel that I want to review for you guys. So, yay for that. All right, guys, thanks for sticking around for the review portion of the Bry-Fy podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about A Court of Thorns and Roses. So if you've not heard about this book, or I don't know what rock you've been living under, well, I mean, it's very easy to not hear about this book, especially if you're some like alpha male wannabe who thinks reading's dumb and women are dumb. Like that's the only way I can imagine you not hearing about this. This even showed up on my TikTok For You page. Of course, my wife was very much in the radar of this romance novel. So she's like 4 books. I can't remember how many books are in the series, but she's already deep, man. She's way too far in. There's no turning back for her. But there recently became a TikTok trend where wives and girlfriends were getting their men to read along with them or read the book with them and gauge their reactions to it. And so my wife, being one to want to be a part of these trends, wanted to gauge my reaction to it and wanted to read it with me. I mean, she's always wanted to read books with me, and I've always kind of stuck to my comics or manga or other things that I kind of dally in. I'm a gamer, so I spend a lot of time doing that, but we decided, and I wanted to read a book with her, and this is one that's popped up on my For You page, so I knew some things about it, but not enough. Nothing really spoilery. No, I didn't know any spoilers for this book based on my TikTok shit. So it seemed like the perfect match, right? So we go in and start reading A Court of Thorns and Roses. I'm gonna say it right. I think everyone calls it ACOTAR. I think that's like the acronym for it. Anyway, first thought of the book, it's interesting. I will say there are some things, like, I don't know if my wife Casey liked or disliked, because like I'm engaged with the book, but I'm also like, I'm engaged with this book, and so there are parts where I'm picking it apart and where I'm like, all right, this doesn't make sense and stuff, but like it's not too far off. I think it's really more, I'm just kind of frustrated with the main character, whose name's Feyre, I believe is her name. I think she makes really dumb choices. Spoiler alert, if you're listening to this, because I will talk about this book. So if you plan on reading it without spoilers, maybe this isn't the podcast for you. You need to stop. But before I get on with the spoiler part of it, this book was enough to get me to want to start reading book 2 with my wife. So we're already into book 2, which I will tell you from the first 4 chapters that we've read is exponentially better than book 1. So you need to read book 1 if you want to get to book 2, and book 2 is way better, and it seems to be the consensus online that book 2 is just a way better read in general. Anyway, back to book 1 and the spoilers. So 3, 2, 1, you better have left by now. Biatch, go. So Feyre makes horrible decisions, and it's probably because she's illiterate, which is brought up in the book and becomes a major plot point. Well, I say major plot point, but becomes a very important plot line for one aspect of the book that I won't spoil too much about. But essentially, A Court of Thorns and Roses is if someone saw Beauty and the Beast and was like, but what if they had sex? Like, which, I mean, I think we can all imply that Beauty and the Beast, like the Disney-fied version of it, probably behind the scenes, they got a little close, She got a little bit furry, if you catch my drift. A Court of Thorns and Roses, there's no doubt, like, it is spelled out quite literally in the pages that something happens. In book 1, though, very few things happen, like, sexually. So, like, while I'm thinking, all right, we about to get into this smut, like, it is very tame for the first book, and not a lot. I was actually kind of disappointed, because I wanted, like, my eyes to pop out of my head by, like, oh, Lord, like, this is happening, like, I thought we were going to get into, like, beast sex type shit. No. Dude can, like, transform between a beast and human. So it's like Beauty and the Beast, but way more convenient. Way less hairy. And, of course, it's not just the story of their romance. Like, there has to be a catalyst for it. There has to be a reason for it. So everything kind of kicks off when Feyre kills a giant wolf, which humans know the wolves kind of have the probability of being fairies in disguise, like Transformers. Fantasy Transformers, wolves in disguise, fairies in disguise, turn into wolves. And she kills a wolf. Like, wolf just sits there, stares at her, like, kind of accepting it's his fate. Like, ah, shit. And then, bam, dies. Then fucking Tamlin shows up, or as the TikTok calls him, Tampon shows up. Kind of funny. And takes her away. She broke a treaty, killed a fairy. Now she's got to go be his and live with him. And it's weird because, she's like kind of a prisoner, but not really a prisoner. And it's essentially just Beauty and the Beast. That's where we're at. Beauty and the Beast, up into a point where instead of like, a witch did curse him, but like, yes, she just has to love him to break the curse. So yes, this is exactly like Beauty and the Beast. The only difference is Belle in Beauty and the Beast doesn't have to go fight the witch. Now, Feyre has to go fight the witch, which gets awesome. I guess like Beauty and the Beast, the big bad is Gaston, right? He's going to go there and fuck up the Beast. I don't even remember his name. What is the Beast's name? Just Byron the Beast. Anyway, Gaston goes over there, fucks up the Beast. Belle comes, kind of helps save the day. Beast kills Gaston. In the story. A court, thorns and roses, not necessarily. So, Tamlin sends Feyre off because he's like, no, it's not safe. But I can't really tell you why it's not safe. Like, the whole time, she doesn't know what's really going on. She just knows something really bad is affecting the fairylands and can potentially affect the humans if not taken care of. And as it turns out, part of the curse that he's under, he's not allowed to explain what happens. Kind of makes sense, right? I guess the Beast, same time in Beauty and the Beast, could not explain, hey, I just need you to love me and turn me back to normal, right? Same thing for Tamlin in this book. Feyre goes to go save everyone, go kick ass, save everyone, but she has to pass Trials 3 to save her lover. And really, as it turns out, like, she learns after the fact, after the dude gets captured by the witch. She has a name. She's evil. She's a really evil fairy that wants to kill humans and get revenge because her sister was killed by a human, and she does some creepy shit. She's got some anger issues she got to work through. But anywho, so she's got Trials 3 to get through to save her lover, but after he gets captured by this girl, it was like Amethyst, I can't remember. It started with an A or C or something like that. She's evil. She got red hair. She evil. But Feyre gets to learn a bit about the curse and gets to learn about, like, hey, what's happening? And, oh, yeah, you could have just broken this curse. What's funny, there's like a maid that works there that's kind of like mean to Feyre the whole time. And even after all this, still a bitch, right? She's like, this is all your fault. You could have fixed it. All you had to do was tell him you loved him. And you obviously loved him. We all saw it. We all heard you in the bedroom. You loved the man, right? And you just couldn't say it. He legally couldn't say it because of the curse. You couldn't say it because you're illiterate. No, you're twisted and you're stupid. And like that's pretty much like how it goes. Like, Feyre, you're stupid. And then she goes try to do the 3 challenges, but there's an out. If she doesn't do the 3 challenges to free everyone, she can solve a riddle, and the evil witch fairy will free everybody instantly. Like, solve the riddle, solves it immediately. And the riddle, for all intents and purposes, is like, oh, if I'm lost, it's all like, the answer was love. I don't care what you say. The riddle, the answer is love. Anyone who can read knows the answer is love, because if you read the book and you understand what the whole themes are of the book, love is the answer. Love would have solved all these problems. And of course, Feyre, being illiterate and maybe not the brightest, can't come up with that answer. So she goes through the trial. She like, just, dude, aces the first one, gotta kill a giant worm, done. She is whatever from Dune. Kills the giant worm. Second one, she's got to read and pull the right lever. Like, literally, I forget what even was the point, but the whole idea was she had to read. And oh my God, did she just fumble. Like, just it was bad. Thankfully, she made a deal with another fairy. So in this book, basically Gaston is replaced by another fairy who's sexy, evil, and just a bad boy. Just a bad boy. And like you can tell, like Farrah doesn't like him, she hates him, but you know, she hates him in like that bad boy way. And so he, to help her, because she got really effed up after the worm just did a number on her, he basically made a bargain with her where essentially he kind of cursed her to mark her as like, hey, for a week, every month for 1 week, you're mine. And so like that's the rule that's the bargain she made so that she could be healed enough to complete the rest of the challenges. And so he helps her figure out how to read, well, not how to read, but which was the correct lever to pull. They had basically like a psychic link, and he would just hurt her hand. Like she would feel pain when she was going for the wrong one. Gets the right one, solves that. Now she's got to go to the third trial. There's 3 fairies in front of her, all with bags over their faces, so she can't see who they are. And she's got to take like a dagger that's made out of a special wood that fairies are weak to, and kill all 3. Kills all 3, will save her lover Tamlin and free the court. That's her final task. Got to do it. Goes up to the first one, just some young man. He's all mad and upset because he's like, please don't do this. And then she does it anyway. She's like, I got to save my lover. I'm going to stab the fuck out of you. And he's like, bitch, and dies. Goes to the second one. It's a woman. And she's like, she totally understands what's going on. She's like, I don't blame you. Please just make it painless. I'm going to pray that I get to live eternity with my gods and things like that. So it sucks. Farrah stabs her too because, you know, she got a man. She got a dick to save, right? Goes up to the third one. They take the bag off. It's her lover, Tamlin. He magicked out of his chair and into that spot, and now she's got to kill him. But turns out, if you've been paying attention to the story at all, there have been little clues, heavy-handed clues left in there that's like, it's okay to stab him. And because his heart's not really there. So she goes to stab him in the heart. Obviously nothing I mean, he's hurt as fuck because they're weak to this wooden dagger, this type of wood, but he doesn't die because his heart is actually in a different place. So Farrah does it. She saw or passes all 3 trials, but no, evil fairy witch bitch didn't say when she would release anyone. She just said that she would, but she didn't say immediately. And so now she's going to beat the fuck out of Farrah because she said, I promised that Tamlin and the others would be fine. I didn't say nothing about you. So she starts whooping up on her and beating the crap out of her, or something. I don't remember if that's what. Yeah, no, it's something similar to that. And then finally, it just all clicks for the girl. Like it clicks that it's love. Love is the answer to your riddle. That's the way to instantaneously free everyone. So she said, "Hey, your answer is love." And then the bitch freaks out because she's like, oh no, the curse is broken. Tamlin gets his powers back, and guess what? He goes full, like, this is my favorite part of the book, though, because, like, the whole trial part is, like, the best part of the book, because, one, everything's moving so quickly, and exciting things are happening. So Tamlin gets his powers back, and he goes straight beast mode on this bitch. There's no, like, there's no monologue, there's nothing. He grabs her, slams her into a wall, takes a fucking sword, and stabs her straight in the fucking face. Like, just, bitch, you gone. Because it turns out she also kills Farrah. Like, she snaps her neck, and Farrah's left to die on the ground. She's just like, ugh, just bleeding out and dying. But there's a second book, so things go well for Farrah. Let's just say this. So now here comes the twilight portion of our book, where, well, to save her life, like Edward had to do Bella, we got to turn her into what we are to save her life. So all the high fae get together, and they're able to perform a small ritual to give Farrah her life back, but as a fairy. So now she gets to live as a fairy forever with the man she loves forever. And that's yay. But she also has to live with a lot of trauma because she had to kill 2 fairies to do this. Oh, and I kind of glazed over this. She also framed a human for her own actions and got another human and their entire family murdered. And then this said human, whose name she faked, is just crucified and murdered, like tortured to death, and is crucified and left for her to see while she's performing all these trials. it's horrible. Like, it's awful. Farrah is a bad person. But like, she has to live with this guilt. And like, the book, while it ends on somewhat of a happy note, does end on Farrah being very like traumatized, which is great. Like, you need to have that. Like, the trauma needs to be there, because if she just was like, bitches, I'm out, I got mine, like, then it's not a good book. She's not a good character. So she would be irredeemable if she was just like, whatever, I got my man, I'm gonna go have sex. Which, oh, they go have sex. Like, don't get me wrong, there's another sex scene in this book, but it was just, I don't know, it was crazy. Like I said, enjoyable enough, especially there at the end, to get me really excited. Book 2 is firing on all cylinders. Like, I am all in, because this dude, Fairy Gaston, actually his name's Riss, he is very much a part in this book, and he's cashing in on that debt that he's owed. So this is gonna be awesome, and I can't wait to see how this all plays out. Anyway, that's all I got for you guys this week. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. Hopefully next week I have a light workload and I can get you another episode out. If not, we're rolling into the outage after that. And when we get into the outage, it is going to be very hard for me to record in the month of October. So we're kind of going to take it easy in October. You might be hearing less from me, but I will be trying to stream video games as much as I can during the month of October. So head over to twitch.tv/the Bry-Fy. You can check out live streams, videos on demands. I'll try to post highlights over on YouTube whenever I have the chance. So just keep an eye out over there. Of course, you can always listen to all my episodes on YouTube, as well as not Spotify. Or no, I think I am on Spotify now. Yeah, Spotify, Podbean, everywhere you can catch your podcast. I'm there. Check out some of the backlogs. Check out some of the old stuff. I might repost some old In the Vault episodes just to get by in October, to have you guys have something to listen to. We'll see what we do. We'll wing it by ear. We'll play it by ear. But that's all I got for you guys this week. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you guys next week. Bry-Fy out.